You know, it was a tough. I mean, you look at that injury report. That's almost 80 points or so right there.
100, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then you have guys. I thought Bronny had an exceptional game. He played hard. He's been trending in the right direction with the minutes that he's getting. You know, they haven't been, you know, important minutes, but we want to see him improve, and I can see something in his play. But tonight was just one of those games where you had to just go play as hard as you could. I even think the fans understood it because they hung in there and pulled for the guys when they were doing well. But it was just one of those games where it's happening throughout the league. You're sitting out players. The Lakers had 8,
yeah,
six.
Also,
yeah.
James, I think people understand the situation, at least people that follow the Lakers, because there's been national news around the 6 games in 8 days, the 4 games in 5 days. They can now put that behind them. Obviously, the fires that happened in January moved some games around, and that added a couple of back-to-backs. There's nothing you can do about that. It's
no excuse. It's just the way it is.
It's the way it is. And so people, I think, understand guys being banged up and needing to rest some minutes. And listen, the effort was definitely not the issue tonight. The guys played hard all the way up to the last whistle. You expect that from JJ's players. But the Bucks tonight, I mean, Giannis just, you know, that's a tough cover. He got to the line 12 times. Anytime the Lakers kind of threatened Brez and they got in there, within the eight points, Giannis would get to the line, or they'd go on a run and hit threes and, you know, separate.
Yeah, first of all, the Bucks, a little healthier. Lillard didn't play tonight. But the Bucks, they need this game.
Yeah.
They're in a dogfight for 4th in the East, right there with Indy and Detroit, James. Detroit, the Pistons are back. And so they just needed this game more than the Lakers. And they're healthier, is all it comes down to. I would say we should have, like, streamers coming down from the ceiling here. Maybe some of those little pop guns we have where they shoot out the confetti, just for surviving 6 games in 8 days. Like, it's the worst schedule as far as, like, all these games jammed into such a little space since 2011 when they started the lockout shortened season in December with a back-to-back-to-back right out of the chute. I mean, that's a crazy amount of games. All 3 were back-to-back situations.
Yeah.
And the fact they went 3-3, you don't celebrate 3-3 in a 6-game situation anywhere. But for this one, I'm just glad it's over because this has been ridiculous. And like you said, nothing you can do. It's the schedule makeups because of the fire, and that's that. Sorry.
So here's the reality. Here's the reality. Now you look at the standings. There are 13 games left, and we talked about it a lot in the pregame show. As we show you, it's going to change on a nightly basis. You have to remember, a lot of teams still going to face each other. You never know what happens in the NBA. You got the Grizzlies, the Warriors, and the Clippers, and the T-Wolves all within a couple of games of each other right there. That 5, 6, 7, 8. The Lakers now drop back to the 4 spot. They're basically in a tie with the Nuggets in the loss column, behind the Rockets by 1 for the 2 spot. The Rockets have won 8 in a row to get themselves into this spot, and the Lakers have lost 5 in that span. So the Lakers had a nice lead on the Rockets, but we've always said that a win streak at this time of the year, you can catapult up 2, 3 spots overnight, and that's what's happened for the Rockets. Remember, the Lakers will play them at home later in the month. And if you want to look forward to the Lakers and what they have coming up, you got a Bulls team on Saturday at home. The hope is that you have all your bodies back. Maybe you have those 2 back, Rui and LeBron. The hope is that you have them back. If not, then you got to think they're back for that road trip. Orlando, right? You got Orlando in there.
Indy.
You got Indy in there, who's battling 4-5 as well. Orlando's battling in that play-in spot. Then you got Memphis, and you got the Bulls again. Then you come home, and that's when you go Rockets, Warriors, and now you're into April. So, yeah, 13 games left. It's going to go fast, and health is going to be key. I keep telling that to whomever will listen. That's the bottom line, because we've seen, James, what this Laker team is capable. They don't even have to be 100% healthy, and you see what they're capable of. Well, 80% healthy.
This schedule warmed down a little bit, obviously, and I'd much rather see, you know, the coaching staff and the training staff say, look, we're going to sit out this back-to-back game. It's tough. We're sore. We're worn out. Let's rest up. As you just mentioned, it's over now, so they got to get ready for the upcoming games. And I think a good rest tonight propels them to a good game in the next game. They get some wins, and guys will be rested. Get LeBron and Rui back, then you start to jumpstart your team from where you were, and then you're going into into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, we said it,
Into the
Brez.
season.
You know, Brez had his predictions board going up in the pregame show. That the goal for sure is home court advantage in the first round. And if you can get it in the two rounds, even better. But first round, you want to have it. You got to have it.
It's been so long since the Lakers have hosted a first-round playoff series. And this is the year it can happen. You know, as long as, first of all, you got to avoid the play-in tournament. As Trudell talked about with Billy Mack and Stu in the fourth quarter there, you want nothing to do with this. We've been way too well-versed in this single elimination format that I love, James. I think Commissioner Silver did had a great idea by starting this thing about 5 years ago. Yeah. It's really added some intrigue to now, this last month of the season, when a lot of teams historically would tank if they knew they weren't in the top 8. Right. That's all fine and dandy. The Lakers, no more. That's it. So now, then you say, okay, let's try to get top 4, and right now they're there. And that could be part of the mindset of why they sat a lot of guys tonight. Again, 6 games, 8 days. That's crazy. You probably played that like every other week.
So like once a month we had that.
Yeah, exactly, right? But nowadays, that's just something you don't see. Because again, back to Commissioner Silver, he likes players to get rest. He got rid of the 4 games in 5 days almost 10 years ago. He hated it. Yeah. It's one of his first things he did as a commissioner. And here the Lakers had to do it recently because of these makeup games.
Yeah, then you wake up Saturday morning and you're going to take a look at the standings because tomorrow night, Clippers will be playing the Grizzlies, 2 teams that are behind the Lakers. So it's, I always look at that as a win-win. You're either going to put that 7 seed even further behind you so you can chill a little bit, or you're going to knock Memphis back a couple of games.
I don't think they drop down into the play-in.
I don't either, but I mean, it's still nice.
It could happen.
Listen, we don't want the play-in. We've had it.
No.
We're done with that. I mean, I want to enjoy those couple of nights watching without any panic. Wouldn't that be fun?
I think they've already determined that they're not going to be that team this year. It's just, you can just feel something.
They're too good.
You just feel something there. They're not, and it's like they're not going to be denied.
Yeah.
When they're healthy, when they're full, and I think that's what they're trying to do is get everybody back on the court together. And when they get back on the court,
listen, with 13 games, their goal healthy with 13 games left is to try to get to that 2 seed, which they can.
Yeah, that'd be huge.
Yeah,
that'd be
10-3 would be great, wouldn't it?
And keep in mind, if you avoid the play-in tournament, that's a whole extra week of rest. Because you know the Lakers
is absolutely, you have to have it.
Yeah, you have a few practices.
He's got named LeBron.
Chill practices. And
really good when he takes a week off.
He's not bad.
No.
A little time.
I want to give Bronny some love because we're trying to look for some positives, and he looked great tonight. He really did. He had 17 points on 7 of 10 shooting, so 70% from the field, 2 of 4 from 3. The 5 assists, and by the way, probably could have had 8 or 9 assists if a couple of bunnies would have been hit. Yeah. He was dropping dimes. 30 minutes. You just got to be happy for him. And James, you said this, I think at halftime maybe, just the comfort level, right? Like you can just, it's fun to see, and we see it with all young players as they come up through the system. When you get to watch them from start to the beginning of the year where they don't, they look uncomfortable or nervous, to now it's a totally different play.
This is what he's always wanted to do when, we saw him in Cleveland, Miami, shooting hoops before the game with his dad, and after the game, he was 10, 12, he and his brother. And he's lived this life, and he wants to play. Yeah, and he can play. He's
across the board.
He has skills, and he's a hard worker. He's got his dad's blood in him, and he's been working really hard. So now I think the big show is over. He's not under the microscope as much. People were just unfairly giving him a hard time for being drafted 55th. Like, not a big deal. But then he was LeBron's son. So automatically he started getting that friction and hate from people. But now I think he's like, okay, you see him in the G League, I can play, stepping up. I don't care who's playing on the court. He's playing against NBA players. And what I'm seeing is relaxed. He's not thinking anymore. And, it's hard for him. I can see him going to the scoring table and people are like, Bronny.
I mean, they're chanting his name everywhere he goes.
It's really tough, but I think he's, let me play.
The fact that he plays under those circumstances tells me a lot about the young man. Honestly, it tells me a lot about him as a player, too. There's a lot of pressure there, right? Everyone chant your name, wants you to shoot every time you touch the ball. By the way, his decision-making, I think you have to. It was really impressive.
I'll tell you guys what.
He was the lead guard out there tonight when he was on the floor.
Yeah.
He was the one making the decisions.
And I love you bring up the 5 assists. He showed us kind of a nice array. He's willing to drive, willing to hit a little teardrop, hit some threes, went to the line a little bit. I'll tell you what, before the Luka trade, so let's rewind 2 months. The number one question I got when I run into friends or just people who want to come up and talk Lakers, wherever. Number one question I got was about Bronny. You know, what's he like? What's his career arc going to be? You know, what's his talent level? You know, now you add Luka Doncic. All those questions are over now. Now it's, can they win it all? You know, so things have been upgraded as far as the big picture for the Lakers. But a lot of people were so curious about Bronny. You know, what's he going to be like? And I've always liked talking to the kid. I think he's a good kid. He had good parenting, no ego at all that I can sense. So I'm really happy for him because it's not fair when you're just a few picks from the last pick in the draft, and people are like, "Well, how's this going to turn out? You know, is this what's this all about?" And he's played great. And JJ Redick kind of tipped us off a couple weeks ago, and when he said, "You know, Bronny's really improving," and I think we saw that tonight. I really liked watching him play.
Listen, all I know is what LeBron must be feeling on that bench, just watching the game.
How about
inside.
That? Yep.
It's probably a cool moment
Yeah.
for him too.